the final of these excellent topics, though each is vast, of course, vast. Free trade and globalization. The criticisms are, of course, justified that the big systems, World Trade Center, World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, and things like this, favor large corporations. On the other hand, large corporations are the only forces that have the money and a structure and the possibility of setting up businesses, establishing businesses in far-flung places. And even though we Westerners, with our ideas of free trade, which are very Western, pro-Western and beneficial to the Westerners, even though we have promoted such things as the exploitation of women and children for jobs and all that under terrible conditions, we are also the people who try to correct these abuses. And through it all, what this has meant is the establishment of businesses, factories, whatever you like, where people can earn some money where before they couldn't. Are their lives better than before? Yes. Yes, they are. Their lives are better than they were before. And we are the same people who, because of our free trade system, I would say, and because of our liberal ideas, we are the same people who discover the abuses, identify and label and focus attention on the abuses, and this in turn leads, at least sometimes, our enemies have to admit, at least sometimes leads to the correction of these terrible injustices, leads to the correction of terrible wrongs. So, call it the Westernization of the world, because that's what it is. And the Westernization of the world is the Americanization of the world. They are identical. Whether it's the Japanese doing it or the Europeans, it is the Americanization of the world. The same methods, it's Americanization. Is this a good or evil thing? I'm afraid, I think, that it is much more good than evil. And, as in the last topic, when Americanization means bringing of our troops in to correct terrible things like Kosovo and Bosnia-Herzegovina, Bosnia, or Afghanistan, or even Iraq, which is a big question, a big test of this whole phenomenon, Americanization, that is the policing and monitoring of the world by Americans. Iraq is a big test of this whole concept. But I think in the end, even there, where it was so questionable, where our reasons for going in were questionable, where our methods have been questionable, even there, the big test, even there, Americanization will pass as a better thing than any other option. And I think this is true also of globalization, of free trade, the big corporations going in and setting up blah, 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 blah. Why? Because it means jobs. Because it means better lives for more people. Because it means education. Immediately? No. Of course there are abuses, often abuses. But then we are the same people who will correct the abuses. Is this naive of me? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think I'm willing to look at the worst, and most people in the West are. We're hungry to see justice done. Mostly we're willing to look at the worst things we do. And mostly we want to correct them. We, who are these we? Many good people with good intentions, some evil people whose only interest is exploitation. But I think there are more good people and agencies for good. Ultimately, here's an idea, this idea that I talked about last time. This need that Americans have, this deep need, for not the best reasons, of moral superiority. That, in the end, is a force for good in the world. Because we can't stand to see our evils exposed without trying to do something about them. We want to punish the people who did the terrible things, and not so terrible, but some terrible things, to the Iraqi prisoners. We want them punished. We want such things exposed. We want such things avoided. We want bad guys punished, good guys rewarded. Call it simple-minded. But I think it really is what I'm calling Americanization, too glibly. I think it really is a force for more good than evil in the world. And if we can avoid the narrow Christian attitude that some of my compatriots wear too readily or too aggressive about, if we can avoid feeling that Christianity is somehow superior, which I think fewer and fewer Americans will believe, I'm trusting that, then taken in a somewhat secular sense, Americanization is an agency for more good than harm. Or, if you like, the alternatives, there is no hope at all in any alternative. None at all. Americanization is the only hope for good, almost, in the world. And part of that Americanization, of course, is free trade, the free exchange of ideas, liberal education, a free press is huge. Does it do bad things? Yes, sure. But it does more good than bad, I think.